New York underneath those buildings before the plane's anywhere near it.
Yeah, they was moving the gold out, wasn't it?
So are we all agreed on the motive of this, that it's a false flag
terrorism,
false flag terrorist event?
I think it's almost definite.
Yeah, almost definite. How they did it, we'll never truly know.
All the indicators are there. I think that without that, the American people wouldn't have been behind an invasion, a regime change in Iraq.
Yeah. And one piece of evidence that I did see that supports Lear's claim that it was a direct energy beam is that apparently the Earth's magnetic field, seconds before the plane hit the tower, it dipped, and apparently you can get that scientific
So the planes
data
could have gone in and then the energy beam finished it off?
I actually found a registered patent, which has been registered recently, for a particle beam weapon that works on the basis of breaking down the molecular bonds in materials. So basically it's almost like pulling apart the atoms that are holding something together. And if you do that, then everything turns to dust. So something like could have been used in principle.
Yeah, because there's arguments over whether there was high heat involved or not, or and as you say, it's possible that this reaction.
It's like a Klingon disruptor, like that.
It's a bit like a nuclear. A bit like a nuclear reaction, a chain reaction, perhaps.
Yeah, like a nuclear explosion, but inside the individual atoms.
So, I mean, what can we say about who's orchestrating that, and what level is it at? I mean,
who stood to gain?
Sorry,
who stands to gain?
That's the question, isn't it?
And who do you think stands to gain?
The West, definitely.
I mean, who do you think is controlling the military-industrial complex, shall we say? I mean, do you think it's a human influence, or who's really actually orchestrated 9/11 if it's a false flag event?
Well, I think
it's not Bush. Bush wasn't Bush's idea, was it?
No, somebody would be behind Bush pushing it.
But at the same time, by the fact that you've got people like Bechtel, one of the major corporations that is also associated with the American secret military projects. You've got Halliburton that are being awarded all of the contracts. Now, what the public perception is that we haven't gone in there and invaded their country and gone to war with them. We've just gone in to administrate one or two things. And what have they got? Well, we're not administering the sand, and we're not administering chemicals, but we are very interested in that black stuff that you've got over there. Now, control of that. I mean, the other major supply of oil in that particular region, of course, is Iran. And there's talk of looking at reasons for that. But I think that even the public couldn't swallow a second terrorist atrocity that is allegedly been false flagged to Iran.
That's swallowed going into Afghanistan, though, again, hasn't it? Well, another 30,000 troops going in next month.
I mean, if they want to do something with Iran, perhaps there's another false flag event around the corner.
Well, it's quite possible.
There could well be. I mean, there's this pipeline that's going through
Afghanistan, and that's the reason why
that happens to be being built right by a road, which happens to be the very place that all the soldiers have got to guard and prevent any terrorism activities. I mean, obviously, these things are all. It's now, all governments have exchangeable interests with each other. None of them seem to have any self-sufficiency anymore. So, if you could have self-sufficiency in the form of this over-unity energy idea, or means of travelling between planets without using any energy, whoever's got that is not going to want to share it with anyone. I certainly wouldn't want to share it with anyone, because it'd effectively make you the equivalent of a god on Earth.
Yeah. What you mean if you had zero-point energy technology or free energy technology?
Yeah, that's the problem.
And that was developed from spacecraft. I mean, that's the key. You'd have ultimate power.
Not when there's trillions of dollars of oil left in the ground they can exploit and keep going.
And you think that's one of the key reasons why we've never had disclosure? Because
it's probably one of the key reasons. Yeah, if they've got 0-point energy, and you could have a small, say, the size of the table, what will run your house for 30 years, you wouldn't need electric, you wouldn't need gas, you wouldn't need it. What are the utilities? Are they going to tax you?
Yeah.
Unless they put your tax on that.
And if you give it to, say, a third world nation,
a third world nation, which will cause problems,
they can desalinate the seawater and get as much clean water as they want,
and now they can be productive.
Yeah.
They can make the land far more productive. They can compete with the West.
Correct.
They can invest in their infrastructure. They can now become a threat to the West in terms of world power and influence.
I mean,
it's a good enough reason not to give them, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was speaking to a 9/11 researcher, Andrew Johnson, and he believes in the direct energy weapon theory, but he believes that the reason why he believes that the inside, shall we say, have actually planted this Dr. Jones, who wrote the report that the towers were brought down by controlled demolition. Okay, so that's, yes, it's false flag, but it was controlled demolition. It wasn't a direct energy beam. And he believes that the establishment, or whoever the powers that be, have put this. I think he's Dr. Steve Jones, I think, who wrote the report on the fact that thermite was found in the towers.
Was found in it,
well, what he's saying is that thermite wasn't used, and the reason why allegedly they're now saying this is because they don't want anyone to know about the direct energy weapons.
Sure.
Because it's related to 0-point energy. You know, so. Yeah, and then there are the other buildings as well. You know, the Pentagon, which is a, you know, I mean, apparently that 80 cameras were
and never got one picture.
You know, had some view of that event, and every single one of them has been confiscated, and the FBI will not release.
Not releasing under freedom of information. Why will they not release the videos? Why? Just the reason why they won't release them. They won't even. That is terrible.
It's because it wasn't a passenger airliner.
No, it was probably a cruise missile or something that hit it.
But yeah, it's
I mean, apparently there was a woman whose desk wasn't far from where the impact was.
That's correct.
A naval intelligence officer.
And then she actually walked out of the hall.
Yes.
And then she went to hospital or something, and she said, "Well, I didn't see a plane." I said, no, you did see it.
That's right.
And then the taxi driver, the poor black taxi driver guy who says, "Oh, I was driving down here." No, you wasn't driving down here. When they went in, and they went back, and he says, "Look, this is too big for me." And his admits on tape, there are a lot richer people, and the poor guy was under so much pressure. He didn't know if he was coming or going.
Yeah.
But I mean, another interesting thing is that in I think it was in the 1930s, a B-29 bomber in fog actually flew into the side of the Empire State Building,
right,
and only damaged 2 floors.
Yeah.
And they're literally this thing sticking out the side of it. Now, okay, admittedly, it's not a jet and it isn't carrying heavy, but it's still a big lump of metal, substantially built, hitting a building that didn't use anything like the sophisticated technology of the Twin Towers. So why would you get away with, you know, a plane flying into that building? That's no problem, but fly into a much moderner, better constructed building,
and then
it falls like a pancake.
Yeah.
And it resists the laws of physics on falling as well.
The picture that is implanted on everyone's mind is the one where from behind it goes in like a knife going into butter, and it gets all the way in before it explodes. And now there's steel columns on the outside, not to mention the inner core columns, and they're aluminium wings. There's no way aluminium can slice through steel.
No, they're just crumpled.
So something's not right with that particular. And the collapse of the building itself, the official explanation that 110 floors pancaked one on top of the other at free fall speed, you know, it's pretty preposterous. And it's amazing how this isn't. Why these views are just on on this channel.
Truth for 9/11, isn't it? Now, Truth for 9/11, with all the scientists and the pilots are behind it now, and structural engineers who are saying this is wrong, and they're getting a lot of, you know, if you go and check.
But if it was ever proved that government authorities were involved in some rogue element of the government, that these things happen from time to time, or some disgruntled agents of the NSA put together this operation with drugs money or whatever, if ever that was found out, it'd call into question the whole system of what is democracy in America. It could result in another revolution.
Bring it on, I say. Okay. Well, let's just talk a little bit about UFO disclosure, because I think, well, we've touched on it there as to one of the possible reasons why we're not getting disclosure. And you hear rumours all the time, you know, this is a hint that we're going to get disclosure, that, you know, Obama's going to appear on the TV, you know.
And the date keeps going forward.
Yeah. And I don't believe any of that. I don't think it's round the corner. I don't know about you guys.
No.
I mean,
I think we'll see it in our lifetimes.
You think we'll see it in our lifetimes?
I'd like to think it was. Certainly with the amount of cameras that are around now and the amount of small TV stations that are all over the place, and the fact that every cop car has a camera in it now, I think there's a much greater chance of getting some really firm evidence that's going to be nigh and impossible to deny.
Yeah, yeah.
And that may force the hand a little bit, but I think that there are potentially a lot of dangers in revealing the fact that you've been lying to the public for the last 50 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more.